Thank you for joining me on this inaugural Sunday series on anxiety. This is part 1 of 3 in the series where we will talk about what anxiety is, how it takes over, and we will begin to discuss how to manage it. Manage is the key word, as unfortunately we cannot just rid our lives of it completely. Now, there are some rather disturbing statistics regarding anxiety. 40 million Americans this year alone were diagnosed with some type of anxiety disorder. If we go on a more global scale, 300 million people worldwide had that same diagnosis. And again, these are just the people that have been diagnosed. There are millions of others that have not been diagnosed that have this disorder. And I want to reiterate that this is manageable. So because it's manageable, this is one of the biggest reasons I wanted to do the first of our Sunday series on something that is practical and something that we can apply. So the word anxiety comes from the word anxious, which means experiencing worry, unease, or nervousness, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. Anxiety is stress, in some cases about plans we aren't sure are going to work out. However, in most cases, it has to deal with self-confidence. Confidence is simply the feeling or belief that you can rely on something or someone. But this confidence can be sometimes easily shaken or even lost. So here's a couple of really practical examples on simple things. So we have confidence that a cup can hold fluid. So if we took a cup and we poured water into it, we have confidence that that cup can hold water. Another example would be we have confidence that if we're going to sit in a chair, that the chair is going to be able to bear our weight. One more example here. If we were to get into a vehicle and drive to a grocery store that was just a block away from our homes, we're confident that we could achieve that. All 3 of these things do not take much thought. They don't take much conscious effort. However, when we pour water into a cup that leaks, our confidence is shaken. It's unlikely that we're going to pour water into that same cup. We're going to grab a different cup and most likely inspect it to make sure there are no leaks or no holes in it. Going to the example of the chair, it's unlikely if we were to sit down in a chair and the chair broke and we fell onto the ground that we are going to attempt to sit in that same chair. Our confidence is shot in that chair. We're going to try to find another one and most likely attempt to bear weight on it before sitting on it to ensure it can hold our weight. Finally, if we were to get in a car accident on our way to the store, even if the store is just a block down the road, our confidence is going to be shook in driving. Our confidence is shaken. So until we get over that trauma, whether it's physical or mental, we're most likely not going to drive until our confidence is regained. So now that we understand where anxiety comes from, let's talk about how it takes over so many areas of our lives. Anxiety is all about control. We get worked up about things that we have no control over. But here's a not so well-known fact. We have very little control over anything in life. We can only control our own actions and our reactions. But there's this illusion that our influence is actually control, but it's far from it. You see, the word influence simply means to have an effect on, but you cannot physically or mentally control every aspect of someone's life. As a matter of fact, you can't even control every aspect of your own life. There's just too many unknown variables. When we lose control of something, whether it's something small or something more substantial, we lose confidence. And this loss of confidence then spreads, and in comes anxiety to take over. Little problems turn into big problems, and we become overwhelmed to the point of burnout. And once a person is burnt out, it becomes extremely difficult to gain control over anything. Okay, now that we understand what and how, let's talk about self-awareness and anticipation. Self-awareness is the conscious knowledge of one's character, feelings, motives, and desires. Anxiety challenges all of these areas. So if we don't know or are not aware of our character, feelings, motives, or desires, then you are vulnerable to anxiety and the stress that it brings. This means you need to know your triggers so that you can anticipate potential stress in order to deal with it appropriately. But dealing with it appropriately is something completely different. So what have we learned so far? Confidence is key in not allowing anxiety to take over. Without it, we're vulnerable. But confidence is not to be confused with arrogance. Arrogant people are some of the most self-conscious and anxious people on the planet. This is because they have this false sense of security, thinking that they are better or entitled to things more than others are. When they come to this realization that they're not, or they're outbested in their area of expertise especially, that loss of confidence cannot be regained due to their unwillingness to accept defeat. If you remain humble, you will never have to be humbled. Self-confidence comes from faith. Hebrews 11:1 tells us, "Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see." So faith is anti-anxiety. It means we don't have to worry about outcomes that we don't yet know. We can simply do our best and have faith that things will work out, even if the outcome isn't exactly what we plan. I hope you enjoyed part 1 of our anxiety series. Join me next week for part 2. God bless.